podcast listeners, if you hear my voice right now, I need you to do something for me. I want you to take out your phone or on your computer, go to Apple Podcasts, search for Ask Your Oldhead podcast. You'll see my logo, my little picture, my little image there. Find the show. Please rate and write a review. It's a small thing, but it helps others find this work and find what I'm doing here. And it really, really matters, as small as that may seem. So if you could please do that before we get into the show, I would much appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Let's get into it. Peace. Peace. I'm Majestic.
My brother, Justice Rajee.
So we're here, and we haven't. Some things have happened, and I think we're gonna start. We're gonna start with love, and then we'll get to somebody else that engaged that concept, but they're not doing a good job with it. But we're gonna start with the positivity and love and remembrance and honoring Frankie Beverly of Frankie Beverly and Maze, who apparently I didn't know his honorable name was Howard.
Yeah.
And I guess they called him Frankie round the way because he loved to sing in the community, in the neighborhood, which is, it does seem like it would be different if he was Howard Beverly in the Maze. Somehow Frankie in the Maze seems to fit.
I guess, but
I suppose, who knows?
Yeah, if he was like Howie Beverly,
Right.
him to Howard, we was like, they go, because we don't say his name was Franklin Beverly, right? We was like, that's Frankie.
That's Frankie. You know what I mean? With an IE, not a Y. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how y'all. I think it's how you always do Frankie. I don't really know.
I think I think Frankie's always not with a Y, unless you're like Polish or
something. Okay, yeah. So the great, the I'll even say the immortal, the generationally transcendent, our own. You know what I mean? I think it might be ahead of the curve of discussing this, but if there was any musical artist that I think you could say is like the multi-generational Black soundtrack, I think we could say Frankie Beverly and Maze are that. And he returned I guess about a week ago now, 2 weeks. At the age 77.
Yeah, about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks.
And it's a lot of thoughts and emotions and feelings, and so I'll just start with, like, what is some of the first things that came to mind for you when you when you think of Frankie Beverly and Maze, and from whatever angle? What's some of the first things?
Yeah, man. And I think you make a really good point about remembrance and intergenerational, and I think he inhabits a different place in the Black community than even like, I know it's gonna sound wild, but even like a Michael Jackson or Prince. Like, they inhabit different spaces, but for different reasons, right? Where he was never them as far as the popularity and the global stuff, but when it comes to like our community, and if there's 2 or 3 songs that's going on at a barbecue or wedding or something that reminds people of community, to your point. Because like, and I'm not juxtaposing him versus Michael Jackson or Prince, but like, there may not be the songs you remember about Michael Jackson might be your personal favorites, or the video you watched, or you was wearing the glove and shit, or watching, but playing Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually wild that a performer had a video game. But at some point we had to discuss that wild time in the 80s.
Back to that. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Like little kids just say, I like that record. Let me get back to that in a second. Like, but like, that's one thing. In Prince, and somebody's mom liking Prince, and your aunts liking Prince, and and you wore high heels. Like, there's all this stuff, right? But if you say there's a song coming on at 7:30 when you just got your chicken or your hamburgers because the barbecue's been going on and the heat and the coals didn't get heated, right? There's not much that is going to be something that everybody in Black America, and I'm going to argue the diaspora,
Mm-hmm.
is going to put on like Joy and Pain or Before I Let Go, and obviously from where we're from, and I'll dig into that in a second, a little more specifics on the kind of like music. So the first thing before for you add on, go to the second thing I've been thinking is, the idea of the non place based music. So here's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't know, but we will know coming from Philadelphia area. Frankie Beverly's from Philadelphia. Frankie Beverly's from Germantown,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's from East Germantown. Spent time up the Hollow. For folks, pardon me, the Hollow was a part of Germantown on Wayne Avenue. I said that shit like we was just talking to somebody in Philadelphia, but
They figure it out. They get it together.
yeah, up the Hollow, which is also interestingly known for really good boxers. Happy Hollow Recreation Club, if anyone wants to check it out. But like, so his music to me always was like the Dell. His music to me was like, just very Philadelphia located. But I didn't really realize he left Philly in the 70s and never really came back. He went to California in like 72.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but you hear it and you see him, and it looks so much like people that you see, which is I'm going to go to my second point in a minute. I mean, after you build, but like at the same time, the West Coast and the Bay Area in particular, because that's where he moved, had a huge influence on his music.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell somebody from DC he wasn't from DC.
You can't.
And then New Orleans did the best second line. They did a second line like he was from there.
I wish they sent an email out so we could all go.
Right. Yeah, the whole way that they got that second line done was crazy. Like, and so I just think about, Black music. We know it had this kind of place-based structure. You knew Memphis Soul, you knew Stax, you knew Motown, you knew Philly International, right? Like you had this vibe, and then eventually getting to the 80s. But then it really not until hip hop where stuff becomes so place-based, and the artist and the culture becomes so much about place, where truly he was a part of multiple places, but created a soundtrack that represented a community, and represented a time, and represented a feel, and was able to do it, unlike a lot of artists in the 70s, 80s, and up into the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we did, we talk about, the songs that he came out with in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, people may not know, those sounds that you might thought were done in the 80s, but 90s. So these are like three generations of the culture of the music that just captures community. And I think in a time where community for Black folks is becoming so much more of a fleeting concept, where when we've talked about it, where community is so based in like social media, where the reality of where people are located in community has changed. That his music and their music was truly representative of like a community in a time back when. And so that's what I really just kind of take from it. And then the larger thought is, what is our role to community? What are the things that surround community that I think go beyond the organizing, that go beyond the sloganeering? What are the foods that connect with it? What's the experience? What's the smells? What's the sounds? Like, what are all the things that actually bond people together beyond our response to white supremacy and racism?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I think community, it increasingly has become defined by what we're fighting about versus what we're about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
You know,
absolutely. You know, when I when I heard once, when I seen the first post, like, yo, Frankie Beverly's passed away. Won't and he's up there in age, and you know what I'm saying. So I'm not in the like totally, surprise place. You know what I mean, just keeping it a buck. Um, and I know he's had some had some health challenges over the last few years, even though they were still touring and stuff. But but my mother would always say, like, I mean, you gonna go see him? He can't really sing like he used to, but it don't matter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's still them, and we all there because we got this same feeling inside, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And the aspect, and I appreciate that you brought up placement, because like in my mind, again, like Frankie Beverly, they just from the Dell East, and like that's where they live and exist in the universe. Like they're rough
right?
out of the ether.
Like for summer events, like for the rest of our lives.
Like they just emerged out of ether at the Dell. Like doing the commercial would come on, and I was like, man, I want to go to one of them concerts one day, right? Like it was just that's where they emerged out of the ether. So the first time I read something said, oh, that the band they went to California. I was like, California? What that? I just thought he made a song about California. I didn't know he actually lived there, right? Like, but again, it's not like it was a different time. Some of y'all that don't know, like we didn't have Discogs where you could just go look something up, or the 5,000 blogs where someone would have all sorts of easily accessible anecdotal understanding and history of the musicians and the artists that we listen to in the before times. You know what I'm saying? In the current times we do. But the overwhelming thing that struck me, and I'm in a place in my life where music, I'm understanding even better that music is one of the primary ways that I learned to manage and regulate my own feelings, and like be meditative around stuff, and also witness. I would say, like,
Yeah.
we do the thing around like, oh, Sunday morning cleaning your house music, do. But there's something too, like, a lot of times when we, cleaning our houses or doing the maintenance that takes care of our life, right, and our stability. It's also the time you figure, man, I'm gonna cover this mortgage, or the rent gonna be coming, and got this thing happening. Like you also are thinking about your world, right, and that this music, it's not just backdrop music, but it's also is tied to summer gatherings, is tied to these moments in life, but then what they actually sing about, like what's actually in the songs, right? When you look at
Oh,
songs,
absolutely.
We Are
Yeah.
One, Love is the Key, Golden Time of Day, Happy Feelings, Joy and Pain. You know what I'm saying? Before I let like go, I Need You. Uh,
Right.
like, these are not simple, these are not basic feelings about the world. These are not like, ooh baby please type of energy, as you said, in some other conversations, I think quite fantastically, right? Like these are like, yo, like, I mean, I remember the first time, as all things that happen, you hear the songs you hear like on the radio, you hear regularly. So like, Joy and Pain, Before I Let Go. Maybe those would probably be the ones I remember hearing the most. Happy Feelings occasionally, like later. But
Yeah. Yeah.
then you like play a record and like you get to a song like Golden Time of Day, which I think is one of my favorites. You know what I mean? Like that's a very introspective, like, how what's going on with you inside, and you like in my mind, you know what I'm saying? You'll find like, you know what I mean, you find that shining star, like it's like, yo, this is heavy. This ain't basic arithmetic that they sing about, right? And the relationship between music as this place where us as a people could express things that we feel about the world and that we experience, and share it in a way that would be hard to just like say it, right? It would be hard to put your hands or your fingers on it, put to touch it. If it was like, well, just describe to me like what's going to make you feel better. Like, well, I'm trying to get there, but I can't say it. Then you hear the song, and you're like, that's how I feel. I feel like that. I feel how what this song is sharing. I sit in this perspective. I mean, it's the thing that the world. I mean, and this is funk and this soul music as an extension of the blues, right? It's not just it is that continual rearticulation of the way we feel and exist in the world. uh,
Right.
and the place and the thing that uh is always so mesmerizing and it's something that I wonder, like, I mean, I see the way they were able to stay in that place and not feel like, I'm sure they had some place in the 80s where somebody was like, well, y'all can maybe do this and you could cross over, you could do this, you could do that. And you know, I can't tell that at any point. Like I can't think of the like outside of just the reality that instrumentation and audio engineering and other stuff changed in the '80s, right? In a way that it changed for everybody. I can't like I can't find the like we made this song because we thought we was gonna be able to get it on the pop channel. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm I appreciate and I think it's something to be for us to be in tune to, right? That like we can someone can be number one in our heart and that's okay. Like nobody else needs to be involved necessarily. Like we don't like just enjoy what this is, appreciate what it is, be thankful, be engaged with it. Don't feel like again, like I said, I don't think that there's not I've never ran into in our community a real like, I don't know, I already rock with them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's music that's not kind of based in what part of the country you were from. Like it's not subject to some of the stuff. Like for example, growing up, I didn't really grow up with funk. For example, right? And I think it was due to a lot of the jazz and jazz influenced music that I heard, right? That went into soul jazz and some of that went into the R&B, right? You
Mm-hmm.
might have other people who didn't like some other stuff. But like you don't really see nobody that's like, I didn't like Frankie Beverly. Like the only kind of person, the other person I've recognized, no one says like I didn't like him was like Entombed,
Right.
right? Like so you don't hear nobody be like, yeah, Entombed was bad. Like you know what I'm saying? You're like it was Entombed, motherfucker. Like what do you mean? You
Like,
probably like this
settle
dude.
down, man.
Like
Like,
yeah, you like them because and I think in a very similar way, kind of representing this kind of global blackness of sorts. So no, I'm with you that yeah, you don't get into like the Michael Jackson Prince wars, or remember back in the day for a minute there was like the Freddie Jackson Luther Vandross
mm-hmm,
wars.
mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You don't get in these this doesn't make you get into that war because this music is literally just part of the culture and experience of blackness.
yeah, yeah. I was, and this is why I always got to look through records because there's sentiments that are expressed in some of the songs. So like, there's been a lot of songs they are like about love and loving people, right? Love in a relationship sense, love in the universal kind of broader context. I will say, I'll share for the audience's, deeper understanding of how I see the world. Um, one of the times I was, I saw someone's comment on the internet and not one of the only, but one where I was like, man, I wish I could get on the internet to find this person. I was looking and I can't remember. I was either looking um, to see like either a live version of Love is the Key or something for some reason. And I was listening to it and then I looked, you should look at the comments, but I looked at the comments and some hateful person. Cause they gotta have a lot of hate in your heart to hear Love is the Key. And then your comment is, oh, these lyrics are so simple. I'm like, fool, the song Love is, you missing the point. Like the song is about that, like centering on love is like is the key to opening up your world. Like if you want to be free, you know, love's the key. You got to get in there with the love. Like we can't be predicated on anger and hatred, right? And all I could think was like, how unhealthy could you be that you heard this song and you went to the lyrics is too simple. I mean, you want them to say it in a more complicated way. It's right there. Like take the joy and go with it, my man. You know, and I wanted to find that person, and you know, I probably wasn't going to be love is the key if I was
Well,
able to find it.
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad
Yeah, I'm
you.
glad
I'm
I
glad.
didn't, but that wouldn't be what Frankie wanted. He would want me to go.
No, that
It's like,
Frankie
brother,
was
get you a plate. He was like, get you a plate.
he didn't want you to Hulk smash the guy who didn't understand the song.
uh,
To accost him.
yeah, but yeah, so like just the revelatory. I really appreciate that piece though around thinking about plays because I'd had, you know, I called my mom to check in about it too, and we, you know, we had this whole conversation about like, yeah, like how she's like, I don't know how you got that like, that breeze, like that breezy kind of energy that was in all the songs, and I was like, if I'm Philly, you know, Philly ain't always breezy. Like breezy's not a Philadelphia tone.
No, breezy is not a term you apply to most people in Philadelphia at all.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a space that one would lend to that. But again, I think that there's something to the like being from there, and I guess you know at least I guess like Marvin Gaye
Yeah,
helped
the influence of Marvin Gaye
out
and him really taking them on
California.
tour.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And it's an interesting juxtaposition too, just around like how music happens because as these different artists from you know prior eras and that knew him, you know, sharing about like, you know, we lost one of our colleagues and one of our good friends and good brothers. And then, you know, people talk about you go to their concerts and they don't even need to sing the song because the band just could play and y'all gonna sing it. Right. And I guess I imagine like some of them bands that I've heard of that I don't know nothing about their music that other people listen to. Maybe that's how they feel when they go to them shows, like Dave Matthews or Fish or you know what's another one.
Right.
Like I hear about people, oh, Fish is coming. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? I can't help you. You know what I'm saying? But so I imagine I always wonder. It's like one of the things I actually thought about it. I still might. Like I didn't at the last school board meeting, but next school board meeting being like, I need to make a special announcement in my comment time. It's just be like, you know, because it matters to us in a way that I'm like, I don't know, you know what I mean? What I don't know, I'm sure there was definitely an international you know what I'm saying, following because you just can't, you know what I mean, the level they did it without it. But it's such a unique person, unique contribution creatively, you know, songs that I will play, you know what I mean, the rest of my days. And I would imagine I would encourage a band or somebody like you. I don't know if anyone approaches music in this way anymore. Like I'm gonna be making these songs, and then we're gonna have this catalog of music that we perform. That people just want to come hear them songs, and they love us, and we love them, and what have you. But
So two things there. I mean, one thing I think, and I think I just sent it to you. It was a video of people in Brixton, London, dancing to Frankie Beverly before I let go.
mm,
Right. Which points to this other part of the diaspora, which I think we downplay because many of us in our context, because of this new ADO's FBA thing, we think that like the only people listening to black music in America were black people in America.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's just not true.
Yeah.
Right? Like black music in the 70s and 80s was being broadcasted globally. They were performing globally. That's like thinking that someone did jazz and they only listen to jazz in Chicago or New Orleans. You know that's not true.
Right.
So why would it be you think no one listened to Frankie Beverly?
Yeah.
And why didn't that wouldn't have had a global context, especially as specifically the English liberally borrowed from Black American music, and then we started to borrow from their music, right? So, so I think that's one thing, really acknowledging there is a diaspora of music and experience and culture that kind of goes beyond our current limitations. Two, this idea of Frankie Beverly as an embodiment of an element of Black manhood. And here is a place where I think this plays out of like everybody knows somebody, everybody know a black man that just wear them hats all the time, wear the baseball hat. They wear the baseball hat with a suit They wear the baseball hat with some shorts and some sandals. They wear the baseball hat. They had a sweatshirt on.
Absolutely.
Everybody know a man from that generation who just wear a baseball hat all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the role of that kind of presence, and hence, even though it became a joke, the idea of like the sandals and going out there with the white linen on,
Yeah.
right? Again, representing a time, representing part of a broader cultural context, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we all know to be real, that we all know to be an example, a archetype, if you will, of Black manhood.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I think that's important is because do we think about things like that today? Like, do we have locked in archetypes of how certain Black men are showing up in the Black community?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have archetypes of even down to the clothing or the look or the energy or the things that they would talk about in their music? Saying things like one love and love is the way, calling each other brother and sister, like out of a true time and generation when you actually saw people as your brother and your sister. And so I do think with Frankie Beverly transitioning, there's a piece of the Black experience of the past that is also transitioning with it. That's not to say that there are not 60 and 65 and 70-year-old Black men right now with a hat on, because there are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And white linen and sandals, right? In every city in America. But the idea in our heads of the representation of that in our music, the representation of that in our culture, which I don't know if we have that essence of the archetypes in our music and culture being projected because of the archetypes that are projected in our music and culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're reflected in our communities.
Yeah. No, that's a powerful piece to pick up, because I think we feel that even in the as a follower of Brother Spice Adams and like the different characters he does, which a lot of them are them different modes, right? Like the uncle brother that's on the grill and he has a particularly Detroit flavor to it, right? Of brothers on the grill with the suits, with the short set,
yeah,
and the sandals, you know what I'm saying, and got his brim on. You got the other brothers on the grill with jean shorts that, like, I don't know where you got them jean shorts from, because I don't think they make them that way in the store.
1992 called.
You know what I'm saying? And he's on the grill, and what I mean, that's and then and the ways that it's like when you would see even in our, like, earlier, you would see some old head like, oh no, where they going? You know what I'm saying? I've referenced recently the from the song Black Thought, really, last year. It's one of my favorite songs from that Michael L's Affair record, The Weather, where it said, seeing your relatives get dressed up to go sit on your relatives' steps. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely,
some nice pants. They might have some loafers, and we going over to Margaret's. Like, what y'all about to do? Oh, we going over to Margaret's, and then they would go over there. It'd be on the marble steps. Somebody might have had the grill. Grill might have been on earlier. You know what I mean? It's some leftovers, and they gonna
by the time you get there, or they're going to order some platters, some shrimp and some chicken platters,
right?
And some yeah.
That's
or
inside.
whatever
That's inside in the house.
variation.
And they gonna occupy
That's right.
out in front of the house till sometime into the evening. You know what I'm saying? And to the degree that even that, like, that would be definitely the crack age started, had its issues with starting to disrupt that comfort, right? I mean, not that the prior age was not, but that was a particular feature of the crack age, is it started to disrupt even that, right? Where you would go and somebody was like, "Oh, we over so and so," like, someone tell you we gonna go to this person's house, and you'd be like, if you ain't know where you was going, and you get there and it's like it's some lawn chairs out. They be like, "We got some food in there." It's some music playing, probably Frankie Beverly, among some other things. Maybe some whispers mixed in, or they got the radio.
They're the next ones. I will say, God, as I've been like processing it, I feel like that's like it's a group, so it's different because they all willfully they're not all going to die in a car crash or plane crash. But like that's the other music that I think represents this similar idea.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's the important thing with them the same here, which is they have music that goes further into the 80s and 90s than you think.
Yeah,
Like, and especially them because I think they first records is in the 60s, so they go all
yeah,
the way through kind of an arc. You know what I mean? And, and there's probably a there's something there with all of this too around sort of like socioeconomic realities and disbursement of the black community. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I mean, like the brother with the hat, another part of that is, sometimes he kind of got his thing together economically. You know what I'm saying? Like he coming by to check on his mom in the neighborhood, but he don't live over there no more. But he's
yeah.
there, and like all them dynamics. It's a lot of stuff, right? And like these things are not always like definitely not infused into the popular media depictions of us. And it's one of those things that I would encourage, our creatives and writers, like pick up these nuances because like they are part of our life, right? There's a whole being there that, again, when a public figure like Frankie passes, it reminds you of these beats. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you go like I had a cousin, my mom's, one of my uncles, my grandparents, my great grand uncle son passed, and my mom was asking me about, I was like, yeah, I remember Joey and recipes, my Uncle Joey, but the most salient memory I have is like going to the cookouts at my Uncle Bradley's house, and like Joey arriving and other cousins arriving, and like the way things was laid out is one of them cookouts where you be like, when we going home, like you be having fun, but then it'd be like, we gonna be here all like they say you can go upstairs, lay down, cookouts.
Oh
Like, you
yeah.
want to go
The
home?
cookout when you've had enough, or when the good friend that was you was playing with had to leave earlier than you.
Yeah, it's like,
Uh,
how long we gonna be here? Then you'd be like, well, they be like, they got a bed upstairs. You go up there, lay down if you're tired. You'd be like, I want to go to my house. But also, the music is playing. Part of the reason we could have the cookout is because folks, been over to hold their nickels together and make some decisions, and there's the stability and the order that you can be together as family and family friends and have a good time, and life ain't all about what we about to fight about or whatever, as started us out, that community aspect, those community pieces, the neighbor might be having a cookout too, you know what I'm saying? And they over there, you know what I mean? They be like, oh, that's what's the name of them? And like, so there's all these other like feelings and thoughts that come to my mind, and like referencing that this and what they produce as a group, you know what I'm saying? And what he, clearly led from I feel led from his position as front man, and was capturing some of those the way we feel in those spaces, but then also like the moment to remind you that your parents had a life that didn't involve you at some point. it can
oh,
keep on going,
absolutely.
right? Like they about to go out. They going to the Dell. Like you not going to the Dell.
That's right, right. Or they right. It's a cabaret. After all this is done, it's
Oh,
a
it's a cabaret.
cabaret. Or
Woo.
yeah, or somebody playing at the bar. Somebody doing some jazz at the bar, doing some singing at the bar, and you're staying with a cousin. You're staying with a family member, and I don't want to overplay this because I do think this. I don't want to say that these things are still happening right now.
Yeah.
They're not maybe happening in the ways that they were happening, which is okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
But I also just think about, again, the benefit of a collective Black experience
Yeah.
where a lot of people can locate this. I don't know if Messiah, for example, will locate these experiences in the same way.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying he has to or don't, but I'm saying the feeling of like, oh, I had this thing where I had to go upstairs and sleep at somebody else's house.
Mhm.
Right. I had to go take a nap, or I was hanging out with somebody who was having a lot of fun until 8:45, and they had to go because they had to go back to Jersey. And now, since I live 15 minutes away, we got to be here longer. You know what I mean? Like, or somebody got to have a conversation in the back about something I'm not privy to.
Right, somebody came over, something happened, and the adults told me to go sit upstairs for a minute.
Yeah, something came in and somebody said, "Yo, go talk to them. Go watch this show.
Yeah,
Go watch said show or just VHS." Right? Like, and again, it's taking place in different ways and different class experiences. But I do think, again, when you're wrapping this all together, what is the song that young people will say they heard? Maybe it's Maxwell, right? Like, I'm actually kind of thinking through the idea of that Maxwell came out 28 years ago, like 1996, right? 1997, which kind of puts him, Erykah Badu, like, in some ways puts that crew solely in the place of the idea of the kind of soundtrack that maybe some people would have had in this context. That we may not think about it. We may, oh man, it was Maxwell. It came out in 96. Well, yeah, Max, that was 30 years ago, dog.
Yeah.
Like, so some kids had to go upstairs when somebody was playing Maxwell, or some people had to go upstairs when they was playing, other music from that time. Or some people had to go upstairs when they heard Drew Hill, right? Like, and so I do think, again, to your point, taking from this the power of community, taking from this the power of how music and culture aligns people in ways that we don't often think about. Because again, culture, the importance about culture is working when you're not thinking about it. Culture is actually functioning when you're not conscious of it, right? It's the sum total of that knowledge and understanding functioning as a kind of background CPU system that is influencing everything else around it, but it's not as easily seen, right? Of that operating system. You know what I'm saying? So, in that power of that, and then what culture and things like that are we projecting kind of going forward?
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to leave the kind of mark on the world. Leave us with these happy feelings. You know what I'm saying? We could dip a toe in it, because I just think it's worth it. Like I said, the nature of the tone in these songs, a lot of the songs, is not a simple, straightforward, like one way, like again, baby, please, baby, please understand type of energy. Is very like, being in a relationship is hard, or complex. You know what I'm saying? Like, from the can't get over you to the after the morning after, which that's a hardcore song. You know what I'm saying? After the fun's over, you know what I mean? You still want me? Yeah.
But that's the thing, I think, also about that, like, 80s music, like that late 80s going into the early 90s, where they actually started to make that transition in a way of music that was on trend. Very similar to the Whispers and a couple other artists that were able to make that transition. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like Silky Soul, right? I Can't Get Over You, like you said, after the morning after the night before. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they were tapping into what was appropriate then, when things had moved to kind of, maybe in the Black community, a little less of the broader thematic, like, vision of community, and kind of moved into the kind of more structural, love to love you, girl, like thing that was occurring.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, okay, as they moved into it, they still did it in a way that was on trend and then was able to take it back. Another one piece I want to touch on too real quickly is the iconography of Maze.
Mm.
Like that idea, the hand and the things, and like, when you're growing up and you're seeing people have like a logo,
Yeah.
right? Or they have like just like, and you can put it in different colors and shit. Like it's like a freaky freezer. Remember the freaky freezers when people would put the gloves on and they could change
Right.
colors and put the hands and stuff?
Like a dragon now.
Yeah, like ooh, freaky freezers. Yeah, for everybody listening that is younger than us, check out freaky freezers.
Look it up
But
on
like,
internet. Yeah.
but like, one day it might be blue. Then the next day the iconography might be another color. You see what I'm saying? And so like that iconography connecting with the times, and then when they transition, it transitions. It looks a little different because the group's a little different, a little older. Communities engaging differently, but still on trend, still in place, and then leaving a soundtrack of all of that for people as a process.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking on the Discog, so shout out to Roy Kahara. It was the art direction, at least. He's credited with art direction on starting some of the first album. Their first released album, I guess, is 77. I know that they were a band for several years, for the whole decade before then, but shout out to him because yeah, he done a lot of work. Looks like some other artists you've heard of, but it's like 574 credits he got. However, you know what I'm saying, that look with I think that's seven fingers, yeah, in the hand, and I used like, man, is that like two hands, like two hands together, like it's just that's amazing. That's I was trying to figure out if the maze was a maze, like could I actually draw on the maze?
Yeah, right. You always was there. Like, what was it? Is the maze really a maze? Like,
and it's
like what exactly is going on? Yeah, man. I just, again, it shows you how, as much as you might think stuff like music is secondary or tertiary, there's a place where you recognize is much more central to community than we give it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is not one of those, like, everyone's talking about the good old days. Like, this ain't, I'm not trying to engage in that, because I think some of the stuff of today and stuff that I may not think would have been perceived like this will be perceived like this by other parties as we mature. But it is a thing of a flashpoint for caring about community, elevating your experience, and then us thinking about what are we playing to chronicle our lives. What's the music that we're playing that serves as the soundtrack, that serves as the framing for how people are experiencing life and in the ways that we talk about it. So
yeah. So before we let go, I'm gonna
before we let go, because I do want to say something, man. This has been really positive. And before we get into that other shit, man, I don't know. I kind of want to let this sit as what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, for the benefit of the audience, just put it like this: you're probably gonna hear this in two parts,
right?
Because I was just looking through so all the Discogs they got. You can look at they got some of the album art and images, and I'm like, at another note, the white, some of them pieces our good brother had on. You know what I'm saying? That piece was tailored. Like that wasn't no off the rack. You know what I'm saying? White situation. Like wherever he got that. Somebody he had that linen.
I want to say something about that. Hold up, man. I want to say something to these niggas. Listen, I want to say something about this this thing, man. Listen. Everybody that wants to wear white, if it's dinner and blanc, if it's, you was fake going to the Hamptons, which everybody want to check that now. When you get the whites, the stuff got to make sense, man. It got to look right. It got to match, man. You just can't just be having white on kind of white. If you're doing eggshell, do eggshell, man. And I understand some places they a little tight about that, but if you're doing the ecru or eggshell, do that. Don't mix it with the white because it don't look right, man. And for the brothers, you got to figure out a white shoe that makes sense, man. Stop wearing these black shoes with this white stuff. All Cohorn and them all got a sneaker shoe that makes sense now.
Yeah.
You can go get you one of them Jerry Seinfeld shoes. Like you don't have to act like this, man.
Yeah. If you go to a white party, go ahead and put some time in it and find everything you need so that you can do it appropriately, man. Because
man, it's just sloppy, man. Like it's because we all be like, oh, well, everybody come on that white linen, yeah, because somebody went and got a white linen suit. That means they was planning that white linen suit and got it tailored, and they brown sandals, however they was doing it, and they in the hat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they had and they got when you go see this, yeah, you got your chair, you got your lawn chair. Back then you had you might have had some wine coolers before we started drinking all this high powered liquor. It's true, man. We were drinking high powered liquor now, man. Like Bugs would get 2 wine coolers and be like, woo! You know what I mean? Brothers have a couple shots and 2 Heinekens and be all the way there.
Right. And now it's tequila.
The rum is 116. The rum is 116 proof. Damn. Damn.
Anyway, so so with that, we're gonna wrap this conversation and say, much love, you know what I'm saying, to Frankie Beverly and Maze, to his family and anybody, everybody touched, directly, by his music, you know what I'm saying? Much love to y'all, like appreciate it, enjoy it. And and thank you. You know what I'm saying? Another song, you know what I'm saying? I had a song about saying thank you, man. One of my favorites. See what I mean? You know what I mean? This is what it means, people. Be like Frankie Beverly, man.
Actual fact, God. Actual facts, man.
So with that, I'll say peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Good Brothers. Thank you to my good brother. I'm Majestic. Good Brothers is a part of the Ash Your Oldhead podcast, and as always, you can support the podcast by listening, liking, and subscribing wherever you listen, and by sharing with others. You can also support the podcast by going to Patreon, searching up Justice Rajee, and becoming a subscriber. It's really simple, several options, which will be changing to make it easier. But there, you make this something I can continue to do. You can also, go on the internet, find a t-shirt. The Etsy shop's still open. There's a sweatshirt on the main AshYourOldhead.com page. Whatever floats your boat, man. You know what I'm saying? But be safe out there. Much love and respect to Frankie Beverly, Maze, and all family and anybody that's more closely connected to them. Thank you for sharing him with us. So with that, I'm going to let you go and say peace.